This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that you'll consider this like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable others to be able to locate this podcast. Thanks for joining today. I want to talk about taking time. I've been kind of in a time theme, but not wasting time, finding time. Well, now I want to go a whole nother direction. And regardless of where you are and who you are, that this is something we all need to take seriously, and that is taking time off more specifically. You know, in the end, especially those of you with children still at home, your children won't really remember the fancy toys and electronics that you've purchased them, but they will remember the time that you spent with them. I'm not even sure that it has to be an exotic location or an expensive amusement park, though those are fun. I know that our adult son, he's nearly 35 years old, when we talk about the vacations and places we've taken him to New York City, Disneyland in California. We've taken him to Disney World. We took him there often. We went all over the country. And if you were to ask him what was his favorite vacation, he would say the Wisconsin Dells. He was a little boy, and it was just sort of laid back. It wasn't a long way from where we lived at the time. And really one of the more common ones, not as exotically expensive as some of the others. So I think even as a child, as much as they like going to certain places, the thing that they will reflect on and remember is the time they were able to spend with you. I, early in my life, was consumed, having a semi-type A personality. I didn't always in the early years take my vacation, and that's when I didn't get nearly as much as I would have today. I had this philosophy that I was going to wear out, not rust out. I wasn't going to be lazy, and vacation was just sort of kind of an afterthought that I put in. And then several years ago, I heard Nelson Searcy give a presentation on time management. And one of the things that he indicated was somewhere in the fall, when he got the calendar for next year, and this was probably back when we had really physical calendars that we used. Some of you still use them, but I don't use a physical calendar like I did back then. He said, figure out how many vacation weeks you get a year. Go in immediately and fit it into your calendar. Well, in those days, our vacations were centered around a child's school season. Now that's not an important item to us, for we have no children at home with school schedules to follow. But what it said was that it really was a priority. For those of you who are entrepreneurs and business owners, and many of us one-person organizations, it can become exceedingly challenging to take time off. So I want you to listen to this with two tracks running. The vacation time where you literally get away from the office, get away from wherever it is you work, and go somewhere, or maybe even a staycation. But I also want to talk a little bit during this podcast about some weekly things you can put into your schedule to unplug a little bit that way. Let's talk about 7 things of why I think it's important to take time to get away, again, for annual vacations, certainly, but also for regular, just a little bit of recharging time during the week. The first thing that I think time away does for us is it recharges productivity. You can get under the load of getting things done and meeting deadlines to the point that it'll wear you down and you're not even aware of it. because it feels good, especially if things are going well and the income's coming in and things are working out pretty well, and you're being productive. And as you continue to learn and grow and stretch, you're learning new ways of being productive. But I have found that both before and after I go on a vacation, how much it kind of jumpstarts my productivity. It really does help us that way. It not only relieves the stress, maybe even just needing a change of scenery, but you just need to get yourself away from it. And it was Zig Ziglar who said that, well, isn't it amazing how much stuff we get done the day before vacation? I've often tried to memorialize or find a way that I could make one day a week feel like the day before vacation, because I'm getting ready to go on a vacation in a week or so, and I guarantee you that week and those days leading up to that will be some of the most productive of this year. But when I get away and I'm able to do something else, I'm able to relax, get out of my environment, do some things that are fun, it just helps me to be re-energized and recharges my productivity. And so if your productivity is going down, it could be a sign that you just need to take a little bit of a break and take a vacation. I think the second thing that it does for those in leadership, especially those who have staffs that you work with or employees, I think when the leader takes time off and takes care of themselves and their families, I think you are modeling for your employees and you are modeling for the people in your organization what priorities are, and that time away is important. There was an era, it felt like, in the business world in which vacations were necessary evils. You had to give them to people, but they weren't very beneficial. They really handicapped the organization trying to keep things running while the employees were away. But we've come to understand that emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, and for relationships, it really does model what is important. In the people of faith, we understand that God created the heavens and earth, and He took a day off. And so if God needed to take a day off, or modeled that, it wasn't that He needed to, but He modeled for us that we really need to build Sabbath into our lives. So leader, when you take time off, it does model what's important. The third thing is, when you as the leader of the organization, and perhaps even the owner of a corporation or business, or for those of us who have just a very few staff, it does show trust in the team. There were times early in my life, adult life, as serving as a leader, that I was very uncomfortable leaving my staff. And if they're listening, I loved you, but I was always uncomfortable. Because if you kind of started it and you kind of were the impetus of it and you were the driving force behind what's happening, you just kind of thought, I wonder how they'll mess this up while I'm gone for the week. Yet there comes a point in which we can talk about empowerment only for so long. There comes a time when we have to pass the baton of trust. And it doesn't mean that you're expecting them to do your job while you're gone. What I would say to them is, now here are the areas in which you can respond, but if it's in these areas that are under the things that I normally do, just tell them I'm out of the office and I'll be back a week from Tuesday or whatever the date was. But it does begin to help your people understand they need to learn, they need to grow, they need to stretch, because you're going to be ill someday and not be able to be into the office or the shop. You are going to need to go and attend something for your children. You are going to need to go and see family and go on vacation. So it's sort of helping them to be trained as leaders with training wheels. It doesn't mean that you're gone forever, but by being gone for hours or a week or two, gets them used to having to get out of their comfort zone. But it really does show trust. You say, I'm leaving for a week. And you know, I trust that you'll be able to help with things until I get back. Now, depending on if you work, what kind of a company you work for, one thing that I grew up in the era where you saw vacation time as a perk, when in reality, especially for salaried people, it really isn't so much a perk in that it's a part of your remuneration, meaning that when you get an annual salary and then you're told what your vacation schedule is, it's a part of your pay package. That vacation week is actually a part of your pay schedule. It's not necessarily a perk. Now that may just be the way that I look at it, but if I don't spend it, they're not going to give it to me more than likely. So it's just a part of the pay package. Perhaps one of the greatest reasons that you need to get out of town periodically is it just combats burnout. Whoever you are, and especially those of us who are a little more type A, hard driving, get it done, work till it's done. It's interesting that people who get close to burnout are usually the last ones who are aware of it. Just the recalibration that comes from a break. It sort of relieves the pressure. It sort of helps you to unwind. It helps you to be able to gain perspective. I have found that some of the best ideas for problems that I was facing to find the solution didn't come at the office thinking and working a way through it. It could be walking on a beach, it could be riding in a boat, it could just be riding in a car to a destination, and seemingly out of nowhere the idea pops into your brain. So there's a built-in advantages in almost every realm of life by taking some time off, and protecting yourself against burnout is one way. The next one really is along with that line, and that is when the leader models taking time off, not an undue amount, but taking a reasonable amount of time off. I think it creates a healthy environment so that the others in our organizations under our watch don't feel like they're somehow doing something that we wouldn't approve of. And it just creates a healthy environment that we want everybody to work and work hard, and by the sweat of our brow we earn, and a good day's labor gives you a good day's wage. But this will create a healthy environment in that we'll work hard and then we will rest hard and play hard as well. I think the other thing about it is it really lowers the noise level of all of the voices that are clamoring, all the people that seem to want a piece of you and your attention. It just, by going on vacation for a few days, it just lowers the noise level. Now, you may be a long way away from being able to take a vacation, but learn how to build a time into your week where, be it a half hour at a time, 15 minutes at a time, an hour at a time, that you're going to be away from your desk and you're going to save that time for yourself, whether it's reading or thinking or dreaming or visioning or listening to a webinar. It's sort of like an oasis in a long, dry spell that you can just build in short snippets of time to get away and identify when would be that best time to take that half hour, 15 minutes, 1 hour. Plan something every week that you enjoy. Is there someone you love to talk to? Is there a place every couple of weeks where you enjoy going? Even if you're not on vacation, build something into your weekend, something into your life that brings you joy. And even if you're a long way away from being able to go on a vacation, build in some slow down time. Whether it's in the evening. For me, my morning and evening routines kind of fit that. And then I have some time built in my schedule for just reading. I love to read. I have a Kindle that I read off of, but it's slow down. And some of the times I'm not reading for learning something that I can apply to work. Sometimes it's just reading for the pure pleasure of reading, and you'll have something like that. I have a 15-minute appointment with myself every week, what I call let go time. And that is, I work with people. I work with sometimes very challenging situations for which there is no easy answer. And so it's a prayer, meditation, reflecting on what, for me, I'm a person of faith, so it's listening to the Lord's voice, but it's also me asking God to help me to let go. Oftentimes as leaders, we're our own worst enemies because there's certain things we just can't let go of. And when I have been in a couple of really tough circumstances within the couple of years, the hardest person to deal with on all of it, I have to confess, was me. I had to learn to let go. And so if I'm having a really great week and there's not much that I have to let go, by that does not mean quitting. It doesn't mean giving up. But what it does mean is there are just certain things, the scales are never going to be balanced. There are certain things that I'll never understand why or ever be able to figure it out. And then I also tie in that time, some time for introspection, and I call it my let it go. It's LIG, let it go time. Here's when I know that a vacation and time away has been successful. A day or two before it's about over, a feeling starts bubbling up within me, and the closer I get to re-entering back into my world, the stronger it becomes. And that is, I really miss my work, and I can't wait to get back at it. That alone tells you your vacation was superbly successful. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And again, wherever you receive podcasts from, if you could subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, pass the word on to all of your friends. Remember, my leadership friend, you're not only doing better than you think you are, make sure you're taking care of yourself. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.